Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and welcome back to the Labyrinth. First of all, right off the bat, happy 4th of July, if you celebrate it, that is. And of course, if you are going out to watch the fireworks and everything, which I'm not this year. I actually haven't watched the fireworks in a while, but if you are, of course, remember to stay safe and everything. Of course, or same with other 4th of July related activities, just remember to be safe and everything. I want you guys to be safe, get home safe and everything. But for today's episode of Nigel from Labyrinth, because it's the fifth episode, you know what that means. It's a bit of a special episode, and so for this one, I decided let's backtrack. Let's go in the Wayback Machine to the very beginning. These were the first poems I read for Nigel from Labyrinth in the inaugural episode. So I've been at it for, and I don't mean to brag or anything, but I've been at the whole reading poetry thing for a little bit now, and so this feels like these feel like so long ago. In fact, I don't think I've read these any of these poems since. I know I do reread poems from time to time and reanalyze them from time to time, but I don't think I've reread these yet. But how they hold up years later, have my interpretations of them changed, even though I'm the one who wrote them? And how has time affected my, and I guess to an extent our understanding of these? Let's find out as we read through these. But of course, first, before we do that, just to let you guys know, if this is your first episode of Dixie from Labyrinth, welcome. If not, welcome back. But if you are indeed new here, what we do is for the most part, read poetry. We do sometimes dabble in the occasional story and whatnot from time to time, but otherwise, for the most part, we read poetry. We read and analyze and explore poetry, its meaning, its interpretations, stuff like that. So if that is your kind of thing, please consider hitting that subscribe button, of course. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So this first one is called "Do You Remember?" Do you remember when things weren't so tough? We all laughed and smiled in our youth as the grim reality of life was not yet near. Do you remember life before living? And the biggest thing you had to worry about was if Batman could defeat the Joker. Do you remember your old childhood? It was joy and happiness before sorrow and hurt. Do you remember when you were in love? The bloom of love is a beautiful flower before time withered it away. Do you remember old relatives spending so much time with them without a care in the world? Do you remember? I remember all too well. Oh, so kind of as the name of the poem would suggest, and kind of some of the language being used, kind of trip down memory lane, and you notice quite a few of the poems I've written that I've read on here anyway. They are about reminiscing on that time I'm way back. Like, not necessarily because I want to go back, although sometimes you get that itch to want to go back, but it's because the past does hold a lot of fond memories, some not so great ones, but quite a few fond memories that we still cherish and we still reminisce about the good old days, especially the reason they're called the good old days, especially when you're with your friends and like your friends you've had for a while, and you're like, oh, you remember when this happened? Oh, you remember we were doing this, stuff like that, and sometimes it's nice to take that trip down memory lane. But and the past does hold a lot of great memories again, and oftentimes not so great ones. As I know, I've definitely dealt with that. I imagine a lot of you guys probably have as well, where things in the past weren't always the best. But also, the past I feel like does hold a lot of lessons. Like there's a lot to be learned from this, and this one, it kind of like a rose tinted glass kind of perspective. If Going through the past and really he really remembering the past so fondly, but oftentimes the past does hold quite a bit of lessons. There are plenty of things that have happened in the past that I'm thankful for in hindsight. Like it definitely sucked at the time, but there was plenty of lessons that I learned, and and oftentimes the past can be a great teacher. And they say those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it, and that definitely is the case sometimes. But of course, remember the past, cherish the past, but also keep moving forward. You don't want to stay stuck in the past because then you won't be able to move forward. So remember the past, remember the good times and everything, but then continue to move forward, and everything like that. This next one's called Ugly People. Well, and I forgot to put my name by it, so we're just gonna take that and boom. There we go. Oh, so yep, this one's called Ugly People. Ugly people seemingly everywhere, but not on the outside. Ugly on the inside. Stains on the soul rather than on the image. Spewing venomous words, spreading hate like wildfire, making everyone miserable, for misery loves company. The flowers of love and joy in their gardens, killed in the bloom of youth. Ugly people seemingly everywhere, but not to the eyes. We see and feel their ugliness within our soul. If they latch onto us, we become ugly too. So, this is not your traditional ugly in the sense of physical appearance. Of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course, but also this isn't your typical ugly in the sense of physical look, physical attraction, and you're a physically ugly person. This is talking about more emotionally, mentally ugly people. Well, ugly people in the sense where they like to cause drama, they like to cause chaos. They pretty much just live to make everyone around them miserable. Well, and I know a lot of you probably know somebody like that in your own life. I know a few who, and I'm definitely not gonna say any names, but I know a few people who are like that, where everywhere they go, they just have to always be in something, and they always have to cause some kind of trouble. They always have to be like, they pretty much have to be constantly a negative presence. And that's the type of ugliness I'm talking about. And those types of ugly people, like ugly personalities, always these mean, rude, nasty to everyone, and that's the type of ugliness I'm talking about. And I feel like it oftentimes does tend to rub off on people. Well, that type of ugliness, that type of abrasiveness, where there's no redeeming qualities about them. Like they may, like a lot of them maybe fine on the outside, maybe very good looking, very physically attractive, but on the inside they're absolutely nasty, awful people, which is and what I've noticed is at least for me, oftentimes that does translate over, or like someone you thought was like physically attractive if at one point, then you get to know them a little bit more, and then once you know how awful of a person they really are, that then they appear ugly to you. Like it's their personality showing through, and they no longer appear attractive to you. Now there's a movie starring Jack Black called Shallow Hal that kind of plays with the concept. Obviously, it's to a more extreme degree where pretty much he's hypnotized. Like I haven't seen like the movie in its entirety, but I've seen like bits and pieces of it. But like pretty much, he's hypnotized into him seeing people's personalities. So people that at first may be like physically unattractive, at least in the traditional sense, and instead look like physically attractive. They're like good looking people and everything. Meanwhile, the people who are like physically attractive and everything, again by traditional standards, or it's and he sees their personality, their personality shows through, and they appear ugly. So kind of playing with that concept, but yeah, there are a lot of ugly people in this sense, and out there in the world. And my goal and my hope for you all is to not be that type of person. And but this last one's called Children. Children, young minds being molded, I should say, and grown by society. Future leaders, future doctors, future scientists, future artists, future movie directors and actors, future chefs, future speakers. The future is bright for them. Mold their young minds, and don't let the candles of their dreams go out. So oftentimes, we want to look toward the future. We want to help improve the future, or in the present. Like what we do now in the present is in the hopes of encouraging the future her to do even better than what we're doing in the present. Because and that should be the goal. Is that this next generation has it better, or is made better by the previous generation. The previous generation steps in and helps out the next generation, and to prepare them for an ever changing world. So, definitely invest in the children, because those children definitely are the future. The children now will become the adults of the next generation, and everything, and then obviously their children, and going from there. Sadly, I've seen it plenty of times where there's a lot of people who as kids weren't sewn into, weren't helped, weren't properly developed, and their life became worse off because of it. They lived on their potential because of it. And now there are plenty who were successful in spite of their upbringing, and for those who were successful in spite of their upbringing, all the respect in the world to them, because as they are absolutely awesome to be able to overcome that adversity. But otherwise, I've seen plenty of kids fall through the cracks and become adults who also fall through the cracks of society, not productive when it comes to society and everything. And what is productive in terms of society? How would you define productive? You may be asking. And admittedly, it's a discussion for another time, but pretty much not contributing to themselves, not contributing to others, etc. So, definitely be mindful of what you're sowing in to the next generation, because as whether you realize it or not, kids do look up to us, and so oftentimes our behaviors will influence them for better or for worse. So definitely keep that in mind, and definitely be mindful of the children, because they are the future and they are the next generation. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this episode. It was nice to go back to these poems, especially with fresh new perspective, with fresh set of eyes, and be able to reanalyze these poems and re-explore their meanings, at least to me. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, turn on post notifications. Every time I upload a video, you see as it drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on these poems, my analysis. Do you like these poems? Do you like my analysis of these poems? And what is your take on these? But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.